Chayla, Chayla, Chayla. Hello, 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 hello. I'm so excited to be here. Crystal Taylor again, part of TAP and Title VI. We're giving and bringing you guys Native American Heritage Month lessons. This is week 4, so this is Giving Thanks. Last one of the month. I'm really excited for you guys to have this one. Teachers, you should be getting a book that says Giving Thanks, a Native American morning message. And we have some good and fun stuff ready. Is everybody ready for this? Raise your hand. I'm ready. All right, let's see what we got. So please, teachers, please note the essential question, learning about the 6 nations tribes and their message of giving thanks. Why isn't giving thanks important to the Native people? The resource is actually the website from the book. So there's a ton of activities, word searches, crosswords, those kind of things that you'll be able to participate or get for your class if you want to add on to it. What we're doing here. Activity after, I do have a word search for you guys and then a giving thanks worksheet. Enrichment or extra activities, there is a reading of giving thanks. If you kiddos wanted to go home and say, this is the book we read, there is a giving thanks YouTube video that you can share your parents as to what you listened to. Okay, so everybody ready? All right. So understanding Thanksgiving through Native people's eyes. This is through Discovery Education. This talks about a different book than what the one you guys are going to be looking at today. But this is actually from a tribal member from the Wampanoag tribe, and they were the ones that actually discussed having the first Thanksgiving with settlers. So let's see what they say, or she says.
When we talk about Thanksgiving, the holiday, the American holiday, I want all of us and you to remember that it's very different than what happened at the first harvest feast between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. So on one hand, we have the Thanksgiving holiday, which is about nationalism, unity, football, turkey, all of those fun and exciting things that we should celebrate. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we talk about the harvest feast and what happened in 1621 between the Pilgrims and the Natives, it had nothing to do with football or turkey or the United States. It had to do with celebrating the abundance of corn and the first harvest from the Pilgrims. Wanikisak, Natasuis, Danielle, aka Pamachuan, Nutamas Masipi Wampanaak. Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Greendeer, and I am a member of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. I'm also called Running Water, and I am the author of Kipanumak Wiyachiman's Thanksgiving Story. Kipanumak Wiyachiman's Thanksgiving Story is the story of the harvest feast between the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, or they're called newcomers in the book. I chose to write this book because I wanted you to know the truth. I wanted you to know the Wampanoag people. I want you to learn about Thanksgiving from a Wampanoag point of view. The Mashpee Wampanoag tribe has lived in New England and southeastern Massachusetts for over 12,000 years. At the time of the arrival of the Pilgrims, there were Wampanoags who lived in the area of Patuxet, which is now Plymouth. And those are my ancestors. They were a part of the Wampanoag Nation. So it's up to us to still honor the truth of our ancestors and what they endured and what happened, and also what they did to help the Pilgrims, which was introducing them to corn.
The Pilgrims came here in 1620 to create a colony. When they landed in the territory of the Wampanoag Nation of people. When other people come and start building houses and just living, it has an effect on the indigenous people and on their way of life. Wanikisak, Natasuis Linda Coombs, Nutomas Aquanahanat, Natai Masipiat. My name is Linda Coombs, and I am from the Aquinnah Wampanoag tribe. I think the relationship between the Wampanoags and the English, up until that first harvest or the harvest event, I think the English were just trying to, get on their feet. They were trying to recuperate from the first winter that they spent here, because there were 102 people that came on the Mayflower and 50 people died that first winter. The Wampanoag people didn't help the Pilgrims during the first harsh winter, but later on in the spring of 1621 was when Squanto showed them how to plant corn using the herring as fertilizer. And because of that, they had their first successful harvest. They were not sure at all that the seeds that they brought from Europe would grow here. And they knew corn would, because it had been for 1,000 years. And so, they had their first successful corn yield that first fall. There was a feast in 1621, and Massasoit and 90 men joined. But when they came, it wasn't like one dinner and everyone sat down at a big table. They were there for 3 days. The English probably had turkey and fish. The one source in history says that the governor had sent them out fowling that morning, which is turkeys, ducks, geese, birds. They most certainly would have had corn, because we know they had a successful harvest, and perhaps pumpkin or squash or, some of the other vegetables if they grew those with the corn. This event came to be called the first Thanksgiving, actually 200 years later. It was in the 1800s. A man named Alexander Young wrote a book called The Chronicles of the Pilgrim Fathers. And he was actually just sort of rewriting a book from the early 1600s and putting it into more modern English, so it was just easier to read. And when he was describing that one historical paragraph that describes the first Thanksgiving, he was the guy who had a footnote at the bottom of the page that said, this was the first Thanksgiving. That was sort of the source point for it becoming the first Thanksgiving.
As a student, it's important for you to understand that the time clock of history does not start with European ships arriving here. The time clock of people being on this land goes much, much further than that. Quay, Dungak, Nil and Lewis Galistipa, Beskudamakari, Nil, Naga Chukwabanaki. Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Chris Newell. I am from the Passamaquoddy tribe and also a member of the Wabanaki people that we know in English as People of the Dawn. Indigenous cultures have existed in this territory for over 12,000 years. And the United States is shaped largely by cultures that lived on this land prior to colonization. So before that Mayflower landing, there were cultures, there were sciences, there were ways of life that existed here, and they contribute and have contributed to the survival of those early settlers and also to the creation of the country that we now call the United States. However, by focusing on just the story of the feast, it kind of glosses over the fact that there was entire cultures that existed here. And as a result of the arrival of Europeans, entire cultures were decimated for various different reasons. So the 1800s in America, there were harvest feasts called Thanksgivings that were being celebrated in different states, kind of at different times, usually around harvest time. And an American woman named Sarah Josepha Hale, who is a remarkable woman of history, became the editor of a magazine called Godey's Ladies Book. And this magazine, she had grown it to over 150,000 subscribers. And you got to think, back in the 1800s, that number of people subscribing to your magazine, that was the internet of the time. So this is where people are getting all of their information from. And Sarah Josepha Hale really loved the narrative of pilgrims coming to America for freedom of religion, all the freedoms that Americans enjoy today. And so in her magazine, she would write editorials every year about how we really need to create a holiday in honor of the Pilgrim landing. In the 1800s, Abraham Lincoln was president of the United States during a very big time in history, a time what we now know as the Civil War. And as the tide of the war starts to turn, it becomes apparent that the Union, the Northern troops, are going to win the war. And Abraham Lincoln, as president of the United States, is looking for a way to bring the country together. And Sarah Josepha Hale wrote a letter to William Seward, who was President Lincoln's Secretary of State. And in that letter, she describes the Pilgrim narrative, the very friendly Pilgrim narrative that we all hear of. And President Lincoln decided this would be a great way in the years after the war for us to all come together around one central story of beginning. So what you can do to honor Indigenous peoples during a holiday like Thanksgiving is to be curious, right? Ask questions, go beyond the stories, and start to learn all that you can. It can start with just learning about the Wampanoag people, but then you can start to learn about other Native peoples that are from your territory. And that way you start to learn the history of your land much further than the last couple of 100 years.
I want you to know that Mashpee Wampanoag people are still here, and that yes, we lived in the past, just like your ancestors, but we still carry the traditions of our ancestors, and we still honor them and keep them alive. So one way to indigenize your Thanksgiving meal, which is honoring the Indigenous people that still live today, is by making an Indigenous food. So one way to do that is to create a corn-based meal. Corn, of course, she was very important to the survival of the Pilgrims, but there's so many foods that that the natives and the Pilgrims ate, and that Wampanoag still eat today, because those plants and those beings still live today. So that's one way to indigenize your Thanksgiving table, is to add a Native American and Indigenous dish. It creates conversation. You're able to just talk about what Native folks are doing today.
All right. So I'm really thankful that we got to watch that video, because it kind of shows another tribe on the East Coast, their traditions, and then how they interact with the people around them, and then their history, which was kind of cool, because it's the first Thanksgiving tribal members that they were able to talk about how it was important to them, and how those two perspectives are different than each other, right? The settler side and then the Native American side. So that was really exciting. I really like that video. It is a part of Discovery Education, which teachers, we do have access to in our class link. So if you guys are wanting to look at more stuff like that, it's there. So some pre-reading focus questions. This is all from the Giving Thanks book and the website that I have for you guys. Some things that you guys can ask the kiddos that you have in your classes. What do you know about the Iroquois culture or the Wampanoag culture? As you wake up in the morning, what are some of the first thoughts you have? What are some of the things you're thankful for? Where do these things come from, and how do you receive them? What do you appreciate about the earth and the environment? So we're really bringing in a couple different cultural tribal cultures and traditions, with the Wampanoag talking about, the first Thanksgiving, and then with giving thanks and talking about a morning message. Because we want to show you guys that there are many ways and many tribes within our U.S., not just Siletz. I know that we are trying to kind of stay close to Siletz, and I love that, but we also want to show you guys that there are other tribes, and we have kiddos that are not just Siletz in our classrooms. All right. And then after reading, so this is the book that you guys are going to be reading. If you wanted to look at some of the stuff that you are, talk about, and just have that be at the forefront of your mind before you read the book, you guys can look at those questions. And then afterwards, there's some things that you guys can do. And these, like I said, are all on that teacher's guide. Discussion questions, just discuss and listen to nature sounds. So they do talk about nature. And so you can talk about, listen to the ocean and the forest. How are they different? Why would we need to listen to those things and understand where we are in those environments? Write a thank you letter to someone. and let them know why you're thankful to have them in your life. Make a list of all the things you're thankful for and create like a mural of things that you're thankful for. So teachers, those are all activities that you guys can do. I hope kiddos, you guys get a chance to do some of those as you read Giving a Thanks. And I just want to tell you guys thank you. I am so thankful for you guys. The word down there below is I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you guys letting me into your classrooms and then letting you guys into letting me getting to be a part of your day and all that. And you guys let me be me with all my stuttering and all my mess ups, and you knowing that I'm just a human just like all of you. And I really just want to help you guys be a part of this, and then giving me this space that I get to teach you guys a little bit about me and my culture and the things that I do as a Native American. So it says Nun One Sean Dash. So are you guys ready for the big one? So Nun One Sean Dash. And that means I appreciate you. So I really appreciate all of you guys. Shuwash on Ninla's on the top. It's let me know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving break. I hope you guys get to read the book, and I'm just thankful for all of you. So thank you guys so much. Shuwash on Ninla. Humchi, humchi. Bye, guys.